Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the World Water Week 2022. This is a Rising Tide Shared Vision for Women in Water Diplomacy event, and we're really excited to be here with you all today. Thank you so much for all of you who joined us. We have a full house here and quite a few people watching online too, so thank you as well to all of our online participants. My name is Elizabeth Cook. I'm a senior program manager at the Environmental Law Institute. Many of you knew me because until several weeks ago, I was at SIWI, and I've had the pleasure of coordinating the Women in Water Diplomacy Network since 2018, together with many of my colleagues here in the room. And I'm really excited to share with you a lot of information about the network. So first of all, I'd like to welcome all the women water diplomats and network supporters joining this event today. We have joined World Water Week in force this year. You'll see here images of the 50 and more women water diplomats who have been with us these last couple of days. Many of them are in the room here today. Many of them are wishing they were in the room outside or at our other viewing station. So really welcome to all the members in the network here today. I'd like to give you all a round of applause for your big engagement. Thank you so much. When the Women in Water Diplomacy Network started planning our World Water Week engagement earlier this year, we mapped out a strategy to make a big influence here as we launch our new global strategy here at the World Water Week. So for the past couple of days, our team has been engaged with all of our network members from around the world in a global network forum. We've had a chance to learn from each other, share some experience, get excited to join the network in new basin communities around the world. And then we're here today launching our global strategy. And we're also going to be launching our A Rising Tide new global joint statement. We are doing a lot of communications, so please make sure to follow us to learn more about our network members' expertise and leadership in advancing our strategy. And then, as I mentioned earlier, before we got really started, you'll also see our symbols, which is part of our efforts to make a positive, collective engagement and be heavily visible in high-level dialogue processes related to water, peace, and security. So I couldn't help but sharing with you just some pictures from the weekend. We've had a lot of great experiences together. You can see network members from South Africa, the Colorado Basin, Central Asian basins, SADC basins, OCACOM, ARASACOM, ZAMCOM. Many new river basin organizations joined us in this global network forum over these last couple of days to share experience and start to get involved in our activities. I want to thank all the many donors that made this global network forum possible. I'll just let the door shut. Starting with our Shared Waters Partnership representatives, the Women in Water Diplomacy Network has been a growing global consortium of partners. Since 2017, we've been supported by the Shared Waters Partnership, which there's a couple of important events taking place from the Shared Waters Partnership programming. The programming there focuses on engaging stakeholders at multiple levels in basins that are particularly conflict sensitive or fragile. So there we're focused primarily right now on Nile, Middle East, Central Asia. And the Women in Water Diplomacy Network is a primary example of a shared water partnership program that brings together water, peace, and security with a strong focus on gender. Then, and you'll hear more about this soon, we were really grateful to our partners at CARAC and OSCE who joined us in this effort with the launch of the Central Asia and Afghanistan Network in 2021. And our partners for joining us in the global strategy launch are also here with us today, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Finland, the Cooperation International Waters in Africa program from the World Bank, the Environmental Law Institute, My Home, IHE Delft, CapNet, and Lakar Mission, which is a Swedish NGO here focused on WASH activities. So we're really excited that this is now a really strong partnership. We, of course, are looking for always new partners and new actors to join us in this realm. We really, truly believe that together we can do more to address the gender gaps in high-level decision-making about transboundary water. So, without any further ado, that's enough from Elizabeth, and I'd really like to welcome Tanya Trujillo, our dear partner, the Assistant Secretary for Water and Science at the Department of Interior in the United States. Thank you, Tanya. Welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for being a tremendous leader and host for our program today. It's wonderful to be here. I'm extremely honored to be able to join this presentation and to be able to bring greetings from the United States government. And it's a great opportunity for us to showcase some of our programming that complements directly with the priorities of the Women in Water network that we have. So it's wonderful to be here. The leadership that we have in the United States right now with respect to women in water starts with our very own Vice President, Kamala Harris, who is a tremendous water leader. She's a Californian who knows the value of water and the importance of water throughout our entire society. Vice President Harris had the opportunity to announce our White House action plan for global water security in June, and the highlights in that plan, the action items in that plan, are directly complementary to all of the issues here that we are celebrating today with our network. One of the phrases from the plan itself is, as the source of both life and livelihoods, water security is central to our human and national security. And I think that translates to all of our actions in our everyday work. All of the pillars in the action plan complement the work of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network. These, for example, relate to increasing equity and economic growth, decreasing risk and vulnerability to conflict and instability, building inclusive and resilient communities, and emphasizing gender equality. Of course, the climate change challenges are pervasive in all of our actions, and we emphasize the ability to respond to those changes. The Shared Water Partnership is something we are very happy to continue to support. It works to address and decrease the tensions and increase the cooperation and long-term stability in our regions. The Women in Water Diplomacy Network is something we're very proud and happy to support, and I particularly extend greetings from the Department of the Interior. My secretary, Deb Holland, is the first Native American cabinet member in our administration, and she herself is a woman in water as well, and we really appreciate the ability to be supporting this work. In our country, in our western U.S. right now, we have unprecedented drought conditions. We're working very hard in our major river basins to address the short-term challenges, the emergency operational challenges that we see now as a result of drought, but at the same time, building the strategies and the solutions to help us be resilient to climate change over the long term. We are very inspired. I am personally inspired by the wonderful conversations that we've had over the past few days and the stories of collaboration that you have here through this network. I look forward to continuing to learn from you all and an opportunity for more time to celebrate our common initiatives, our goals, and our strategies and our achievements. So thank you all very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're just so lucky to have a consortium of development partners acting in together to support basin and peace building across basin communities. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Sally Ospanova to join us. Dr. Ospanova is a senior environmental advisor at the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe and just a tremendous partner along this journey together. Thank you, Dr. Sally.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We are just so overjoyed actually to be here today because after 2 days of various meetings and forum members meetings and a lot of bonding and a lot of friendships that developed during, this overall networking events, now it's the pinnacle of sort of our, achievement in a way for the network to be able to join together with Elizabeth and this tremendous partnership with CIWI that OSCE had to have this event. So it is an honor for me to address you today for the launch of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network's new global strategy. I would like to thank Stockholm International Water Institute, Elizabeth personally, for the championship and for the leadership that she provided, but also our numerous donors, and specifically government of Finland, government of Sweden, Switzerland. We had even support from governments of Japan and Austria. So it's been a really well-rounded support from the donors for this specific initiative. I especially would like to welcome our Women in Water Management Network in Central Asia and Afghanistan, which we developed over the last 2 years. And the members are present here today. You can see it from the diversity of faces present in this very room. And I am delighted that during this weekend, up to 70 women could join the first global network forum to support women's leadership in high-level decision-making in transboundary basins. So my thanks go to the Women in Water Diplomacy Network in the Nile, and tremendous exchange that actually occurred over the last 2 days when the two networks, in fact, met in person for the very first time. Water is considered to be a strategic resource by OSCE and is an essential element of national and regional security. Water-related insecurity can be a trigger of tensions and conflict, but at the same time, water can also be a source of cooperation, enhancing security, prosperity, and environmental protection. That's why transboundary water cooperation and water diplomacy are critical tools for our organization. As you know, women are often in the front line of the water crisis and have critical roles to play in water resources management. Despite this, they are very often underrepresented at critical points in decision-making, mid-level and high-level as well. And that undermines progress towards cooperative and sustainable management of shared waters. Over time, our organization provided support for transboundary water cooperation in Central Asia, in South Caucasus, in Eastern Europe and Southeastern Europe. So, for instance, transboundary river basins such as Sava River or Chutalas River or Dniester River Basin between Ukraine and Moldova have been supported quite extensively by OSCE. For instance, recently we have implemented a global environmental facility financed project on transboundary water cooperation and integrated water resource management in Dniester River Basin. And since 2014, the Office of the Coordinator of OSCE Economic and Environmental Activities, which I proudly represent today, fostered incorporation of gender perspectives in water management. And that resulted in the development of this very network, Women in Water Diplomacy in Central Asia and Afghanistan. This project, Women, Water Management and Conflict Prevention, was actually quite a passion endeavor. And you can probably see that a lot of heart was put into development of this network. It contributed to capacity building, knowledge exchange. It did so through the development of a guidance document on gender mainstreaming in water sector in Central Asia. It's available, by the way, in English, Russian, and all 5 Central Asian languages online. And so please use this resource. I think you will find a great use for it. The project also supported empowerment of women water professionals in the water sector. And in September 2021, last year, we launched the network in Central Asia and Afghanistan, and we developed it in very close partnership with CIWI, with CAREC, and with our local Central Asian partners as well. After engaging online for 10 months, almost a year, exclusively online, in June 2022 at the Dushanbe Water Conference, our network participated in the Women Water Forum and other events, where they had opportunity to personally meet our Secretary General, Ms. Helga Maria Schmidt. Now, we are all here today at the World Water Week, engaging in Water Diplomacy Network and presenting our actual work. So we encourage you to get personally in contact with each other and develop direct contacts. The OEC was proud to be the co-organizer of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network and support participation of the Women's Mentoring Network from Central Asia. Our valuable members from Afghanistan were not able to join, unfortunately, but they're joining us online. And I hope that they are able to follow the session online. We will continue our work on the empowerment of women professionals in the water sector. We plan to continue this work through 2023. And as we approach New York Water Conference in March, we hope that this initiative will bring even more results and can continue beyond that, because we are trying to build actually sustainable strategy for women's network in water management in Central Asia and connect it to global networks even further. So with that, I thank you for your attention, and I wish you very fruitful and productive discussions, and I'm sure we're going to have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. As I introduce our representative, Anthi, I've been practicing. Yep. Thank you, sir. Antti is representing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Finland, an important partner to us, joining this year to bring all of the network members you see in the room here today. It's been an extraordinary experience. And I also want to send a personal thank you to Kasia Alforez, who's the director of the Center for Peace Mediation in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Finland, who sent us a very nice welcome message to kick off our Global Network Forum on Saturday. So thank you, Antti, and welcome.
Thank you very much. And, you know, I was wondering just now that why do I feel so much like home? And, you know, the energy was through the roof when you, Elizabeth, started. This is my old hometown. I've been living on the Nile for years. And then when I was looking at the topic, you know, I don't know if anyone here speaks Mandarin Chinese, but woman or women actually means we in Chinese. So while you specifically say that women in water diplomacy, I'm always reading that we in water diplomacy. So I feel, you know, welcome to be here. So I was wondering if I have anything to say after, you know, to you. But on behalf of Finland, I wish to confirm that we also are very delighted to deepen the partnership between the Foreign Ministry and CIVI, and specifically this network. And on a personal level, I'm very pleased that, you know, we've finally been able to find a way to also engage on a monetary terms, even though it's not huge funding, but it's anyway, it's a start of a proper relationship and not just talking together. So it's great that we've been able to, together with CIVI, enable this global network meeting to take place. As some of you may know, Finland also has a very long history in water diplomacy with our three neighbors. And already in 1964, so around 20 years after the Second World War, we managed to have a functional transboundary cooperation with all our three neighbors. And that was largely due to the functional water diplomacy that took place. And already back then, we had women diplomats being part of those processes. And even today, the cooperation with our neighbors is actually managed by a female a person who is coming from the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, Mrs. Jaana Husukallio. So it continues to be women-led experience that we do with the neighbors. But Finland, in many ways, has actually benefited from the regional cooperation. So we became part of the Nordics concept long ago, and that brought us into sort of a cultural space with our neighbors. And then later on, we joined the EU, and as you know, many benefits, open markets, freedom of movement, etc., common currency, a lot of benefits. And now we are in the process of hopefully becoming a part of NATO. So the regional cooperation also brings us benefits in the security space. So peace mediation, which I think water diplomacy actually is at the heart of the Finnish foreign and security policy. And we have had and have still many women peace mediators who are centrally involved in different peace mediation processes. And we continue to support the 1325 Women, Peace and Security. And the Finnish Women Mediators Network has been running already 7 years, and we had a joint meeting roughly a year ago. So I believe, with all this changing climate taking place and we knowing that the peace agreements are lasting when they are inclusive and when we have a female peace mediators being part of the process, it just underlines how important it is that, this type of networks are in place and you get to be part of these negotiations and making the deals to last. So on a personal level, again, I just want to say that I will commit myself with the joint statement, and I picked the part that is addressed to me, which is actively remove barriers to gender equality, enabling and encouraging inclusive decision making. I'm really, honored that you also brought the brothers in, not just the sisters. So as very final words, I just want to emphasize that global society is no longer looking water as a development issue. It's at the heart of security and foreign policies. And this is why we need to have both women involved, but we need to have a preventive water diplomacy. Before the conflict starts, we can make a difference. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we're really going to dive into that heart of what we're doing here. And you feel it in the room. We have a lot of love in this room, and we have a lot of energy to really make cooperation a daily activity for all of us. So now I'd like to welcome our panel, Sogol, Jafarzadeh, Dr. Tahani Salit, Chopin. It's one thing about this network is we have a lot of hard names. And I'm a Midwestern United States girl. I was not challenged like this. Chopin Akhtakhunova and Teresa Wasicki, please take a seat at the panel. Sogol? Yeah, and I'll hand it over to you. Sogol is our partner from OSCE. She's been deeply committed to managing this project. Dr. Tahani is one of our founding members from the Nile and a representative from the Ministry of Water in Egypt. Teresa is also from the Ministry of Water and Sanitation in Kenya, and Chopin is an International Climate Protection Fellow right now, although she has many hats and is a leader of the Central Asia Youth Network as well. So welcome, ladies, everyone. Please put your hands together.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for the kind introductions. It's such a pleasure being here. It's a proud moment for me. I was involved with the Central Asia and Afghanistan network from the beginning. And these last few days, seeing all the ladies arriving one by one, all the discussions we've had, all the laughs, the smiles, the hugs, I think we aimed for a network. But what I see today in this room is a strong community of women leaders who support each other going forward. It's my pleasure to facilitate the next 15 minutes where we speak to our very dear network members. The title of the section is Meaning of Us. So we've all been reflecting a little bit. What does this network mean to us? What does us mean? So with this, I will hand over to Dr. Tahani. Elizabeth did the introduction, so I won't repeat that. But Dr. Tahani, you've been a member of the Nile Network from the beginning. You're also a valuable member of the Leadership Council. Can you please reflect a little bit? What does the network mean to you? How did the Nile Network come about?
Thank you very much, dear Sogol, for the introduction and for setting the scene for this session and giving me this opportunity. In order to do this, we need to go back in time to year 2000, in October, when the UN Security Council adopted the resolution 1325. on women, peace and security, reaffirming the importance of women in the prevention and resolution of conflicts and peace negotiation and building. We need also to recall in 2017 the UN Secretary General announcement on emphasizing the role of water diplomacy and cooperation in conflict prevention in 2017, linking water, peace and security again. So women, peace and security, water, peace and security. Those two milestones constitute the building blocks of our network today. Being an Egyptian, coming from a country that actually depends almost totally on the Nile water coming from outside of the borders, gave a great importance of water diplomacy. And not only as a source, the Nile, not only as a source of vein of life and prosperity for our people, but also as a great inspirer for architects, for poets, for artists to create a great civilization in history. Moreover, we have also our geographic position between Africa, Asia, and in the Mediterranean also gave a great importance of diplomacy and specifically hydrodiplomacy. And this is why this network was really very widely responded and very positively responded from Egypt. The first ever forum that took place in 2017 in Uganda, we had a delegation of technicians and of parliamentarians as well. And it was a great one, it was a great start. They had given some capacity building on principles of international water law and on negotiation skills. There, Jessica, yes, you did a great job there. Lena Salami as well. And this is how it started. And it was very important for us. But the most important of all, yes, of course, capacity building was great, but starting this network and communicating the women in water diplomacy. And we started small, we started Nile, and now we are Nile and beyond. We're expanding. We were waiting every year, so when will we call for this annual meeting? When is it coming? So 2017, it was in Uganda. 2018, it was in Ethiopia. 2019, I missed it. It was in Kenya, but some of my colleagues are here and they enjoyed it very much. And then came the pandemic, but this didn't stop us. On the contrary, it gave the challenge to continue in a more positive way. So within the pandemic, we had the strategy. We had many forums for donors, involvement, and here we are in the Stockholm Water Week. So I think this is a story of us, and I'm very proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tahani. That is a wonderful story. I have a feeling Siwi was waiting for all of us from the Central Asia and Afghanistan network to catch up during COVID to join you here today. It's now my pleasure to hand over to Chopan, our wonderful network member from Central Asia. Can you please let us know what does the network mean to you? And how did the Central Asia and Afghanistan network learn from the Nile?
Thank you very much, Segol. Good morning, dear participants, dear guests, amazing sisters from across the world, and of course our brothers. Yeah. Okay, this is important. I want to keep looking at the picture, but anyways. So this is River Karakol. I was born and grew up right at the bank of it. And actually we used to help my mom to bring the water, cook, wash, not only clothing, but us. My father, who's a farmer, would grow the potatoes on his fields with the waters of our river. And I would even see like the glaciers, the mountains, which serve as the source of this river, and swim in the lake, the Alpine Icicle Lake, where the river flows in. So this river is my parents, my life, my kids who spent every summer with their grandparents right there. And this is the meaning of water, of this my river to me. And actually this way of treating and understanding my river is actually also what keeps me alive on my journey in and for water. And actually this same aliveness is what brings me in and makes me feel fully belonging to our network. And you will learn more about our amazing strategy, about how the initiative started, and you, of course, I mean, even beyond the session, you can learn even more. But and this is a compliment to sisters. It's an amazing effort put in the strategy, because it's indeed Nile and beyond. And for me personally, the words of sharing, co-creating, leading, learning, acting collectively for water across the borders is what is in there, in the strategy, in the initiative which started. And indeed, we share, I don't know, not just this understanding or this vision for one planet, one future, one vision for all of these, but we also share our difficulties, challenges, concerns. And I love it because it's within this network, it's again, just as the waters in this river, everything is boundary crossing. And I think, Sogol, answering to your question, this is how we got to the Central Asian Women in Water Management Network. And this is where the source of inspiration, of learning, of confidence comes, which makes us alive, being part of this big global network now. And I would like to pay attention to this second, my favorite picture, because it's called Kurak. But it's basically, I know that we share this as well, because basically this is the technique of this quilt making or patchwork, yes, and but we do it all differently, but we do the same thing. And basically this one is made by my friend in Kyrgyzstan, so she's also Cholpon, but she calls it Eka Kurak because she just goes around and collects all these different pieces of fabric which is left from the sewing fabrics, yeah, and she creates such masterpieces. This one is very important because this is my understanding of our network. And so if this my river story, which is a tributary, let's say, one tributary, the network for me is when all of these tributaries come together and make this big river. I think together we are beautiful and powerful.
Thank you so much. Well, that was a very strong ending. Thank you for that. The Central Asia and Afghanistan network has learned a lot from the Nile network, and we were very happy not to start from the beginning. You had really set such a strong foundation for us. Thank you for that. I also just want to note that we really hope that we will be able to welcome our Afghan members as well soon and meet them in person. I would like to now hand over to Teresa. Teresa also was part of the Nile network from the very beginning. She is also part of the Leadership Council. She is a water expert, but on top of that, also a gender champion. So I would like you to reflect, why are women important in this context, and how do you see the future of our networks?
Thank you, Sogol. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Is it good morning or good good morning? Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay. Why I think women are crucial or important in diplomacy is that it is a rights issue. It's a human rights issue. I come from the Nile Basin, from Kenya, one of the riparian countries of the Nile Basin, Kenya. And when you look at the countries of the Nile, you find that the population is very big, or I think over 300 million people. I'm not exactly sure how many we are. But taking an example of my country, Kenya, our population is about 40 million, with about 19 million men and 21 million women. So that means we are almost half. So as women, we need to be heard. We need to be included in negotiations, both at the local level and at the international diplomatic levels. At the same time, you find that in times of droughts, floods, and famine, it's women and children who are heavily affected. We walk long distances to look for water. Unfortunately, there are times when no one asks a woman, what would you like to be done for you to relieve the water problems that you're facing? So our voices as women need to be heard, and that's why we need to be included in negotiations. At the same time, you find that women, especially the elderly women, have traditional knowledge on managing water. They've done that for years and years, time immemorial. Combined with the education, modern education, their knowledge can be harnessed to manage water in a better manner than how we manage it. At the same time, women in the Nile Basin are very educated. We have professors, we have engineers, we have all kinds of women, very highly learned. Unfortunately, these women are not approached to give their say on peace and water security. We are also underrepresented, especially in water diplomacy. In the last few years, we've had women ministers in different countries of the Nile region. At the same time, you find sometimes at the technical level, we also have had women being put on the table. But we need to follow our constitutions. We need to go by the UN conventions that have been ratified by different countries to ensure that there is adequate representation of women, especially at the negotiation table. Thank you. Lastly, how I see our network in the future is that, first of all, I'd like to thank SIWI, OSCE, Finland, for the good work that we've done together with us in the Nile, the good work that we've done to ensure that we have such a forum, the Global Network Forum, because before it was Women of the Nile, but now we are moving and becoming bigger. I'm hoping and praying that by the year 2025, we should bring in other women from the other parts of Asia, Africa, and even South America, because we've already captured parts of the North America. We've not seen South America. And Australia also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you to all of you. I know time is a bit late, so I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth. You now know that we all have these pins. Every lady here has their own personal story and a recount of meaning of us. So please do reach out the rest of the week and we will be happy to speak with you. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was really inspiring. And now, without further ado, I'd like to invite our friend Dr. Anders Jagerskog, who's the program manager for the Cooperation Waters in Africa Trust Fund, the SIWA Trust Fund, one of the World Bank's large programs in Africa, and one of our new partners in the global strategies development and advancement in the coming years. So thank you very much, Anders.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and pleasure. And it's a hard act to follow after this amazing panel and the other speakers, but I'll do my best. First of all, I'd like to extend my thanks on behalf of SIWA, the trust fund I'm managing, for inviting us to this important event and inviting us to be a small but hopefully growing partner of this network. And congratulations on all the pioneering work that you've been doing so far. So a little bit about SIWA, the trust fund. It's a trust fund that was started about 10 years ago. It support governments coming together in sub-Saharan Africa for sustainable, inclusive, climate resilient growth to address the constraints of transboundary water management, broadly speaking. This goes both for surface water and groundwater. We have done most work on surface water so far, but we're hoping to expand also on the groundwater aspects, which is the theme in a way for this week. We, at the World Bank, generally are a research and data-driven organization. And I'd like to highlight just a few facts that not only me, but some of my colleagues have been working on, looking at specifically gender and water. And then I'll come down also to the aspects of water diplomacy. And we know that in sub-Saharan Africa, women are heavily impacted by increasing water scarcity and recurrent flooding, more than men. But they are at the same time not likely to be well represented in decision-making. This goes for, of course, in water diplomacy, but also actually in all aspects and committees, associations, and so on that looks at waters. So, of course, their views are not adequately represented. And I'm asking myself also, why are sometimes the decisions not, functioning well in the long run? Well, of course, we don't listen to all the voices, and particularly not the female voices. So globally, when we looked at all the national water plans that exist, only 16% mention women as key stakeholders. So that's one fact. And when we looked, and this is also published, when we look at how women make up part of the workforce in water utilities, it's about 20%. So there is quite a disparate aspect there as well. And when we've been looking at water user associations in Ecuador and comparing the speaking times of male compared to female representatives, then we see that male participants spoke for about 28 minutes and female participants for 3.5. And, I'm sure you all can relate to this in your respective venues where you work. I wouldn't say it's exactly that, but this is just an indicator of how it is. And this is coming from some of the research that we have done. And the lack of voice, of course, presents a problem to equity, but it's also a challenge in devising sustainable solutions to water scarcity and transboundary collaboration. If we don't include all the voices, how can we expect that the agreements, in case they are reached, are going to be sustainable? It's been shown by research, not by the World Bank, but peace agreements where female representation is higher are also more sustainable. And that's not strange, because it includes and takes into account all the different voices, not only men's, but also, importantly, women. So this is something we need to, and you are already, of course, pushing this very hard. So continue in doing that. It's also important that we look not only who is impacted, but also at the diversity of institutions that makes the decision on water management, generally speaking. We have something called the Equal Aqua Water Platform, which looks at institutions and looks at the representations. And there is a discussion going on with the network on how we can join forces better. But that really looks mostly so far on water utilities, but there are possibilities to increase this to look at also these types of aspects. And I think it's important to, from our perspective, but I think it's important in general to try to measure and see systematically, what is the representation in different institutions, because only then we can come with the real solid arguments that we need to move from whatever percentage to something that's at least coming, if not 50%, to close to 50%. And it brings us to the discussion today. Change in institution is not easy, in any institutions, and you all recognize this in your various capacity. For example, I want to highlight this as an interesting example. This is Boston Consulting Group, one of the big management consultancy firms. They looked at progress in institutions and changing gender relating to gender diversity, and it showed that if only women are trying to drive this, you would see a 30% progress on gender parity and gender diversity. But if also men are included, it raised to 96%. So this is also brings me to one of my points, and where SIVA is coming in, and we're trying to now in the Nile Basin work with, and beyond also, male champions that are able to drive this forward, recognizing that they need to be an important advocate for gender equality in water diplomacy. So, to conclude, I want to congratulate all again. You've done great work so far. We're proud to continue to work with you, and we will reinforce this through Equal Aqua, through the work that we're doing in SIVA. But I also think that our contribution to this can be that we will bring this aspect of trying to measure the progress over time. And I think you've been running the network for a few years, but it would be interesting to see, can we see the progress in terms of the figures going forward? So I'd like to leave it to you with that, and thank you very much for inviting us again, and good luck in the future.
Thank you, Anders. And I'll just mention that many of the data and statistics that Dr. Jagerskog just mentioned are all available and collected on the resource page of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network, which is attached to this event in the online forum. So easy to find some of those key data points that Dr. Anders Jagerskog just mentioned. So now you're all wondering a little bit, what is this strategy? How can we learn more? What's included? We have a few copies here on the table, but I am now going to invite some of our network members up to present the strategy and its 5 pillars. Dr. Zodwa Dalami, one of our council members. Dr. Dlamini was a negotiator on behalf of South Africa for many years, involved in the first phase of the Lesotho Highlands project, which is one of the largest hydro or infrastructure projects in Southern Africa, and just a huge leader and supporter of our network. Dr. Zodwa will be accompanied by several other members, and including Yodit from Ethiopia, also on our Leadership Council. And I will let you continue, Dr. Zodwa. And Dr. Zodwa is going to really tell us some of the story of the network. Did I forget something? You can stand here, or you want to stand over there? Whichever is more comfortable for
next
you.
to you.
Here, I will sit here. You stand behind the...
Good morning, everyone. It's been an amazing opportunity, but also a beautiful whirlwind of a journey of us, all of us as the members of this network. The path forward, for women in water, peace and security has been amazing. And will you be doing that for me? Yeah.
Please, you stand over here then, so you have room to move
Okay.
around.
All right. No, I'm fine.
No, okay.
I'm
Yeah.
fine. Mhm. One of the things that we have, it's been just an amazing, process. So we have come a long way. Before we move forward together, let's remember our history, her history, your history, the sister history. That is what we're talking about. It all started in Uganda, right there at Lake Victoria, the source of life. Those are the members who started it all in 2017. And there they are.
I don't know, sorry.
Yes, we can,
Yeah.
because time. And then the second one happened in 2018. That forum happened in Ethiopia. And it was an amazing, network where, again, sisters met. But the most important thing is, our sister said, that is Dr. Tahani, she was saying, it was about mentoring. It was about, giving information. It was about confidence building. And it was about ensuring, that our sisters have a voice. Because a lot of them were like, why am I here? Because I'm just a little woman that is not being, taken seriously in my ministry. And as big sisters, even Dr. Ambassador was here, we were like, you are very important. Your sisters are here. We have done it, so you better do it. So in 2020, we had another one at the third Nile. It was in Kenya. It was hosted in Kenya. And unfortunately, I wasn't there, but my sisters were there. Again, it was another roaring success. Of course, 2020 came, and Mr. COVID, reared his head and started to destabilize us all. But we said, you wait there. We are here. And we reached every member of our network, even when it was so difficult for them to connect. But we continued relentlessly to ensure that we stayed in touch. Thanks to Elizabeth, thanks to that little girl of mine, Miss, Julian, they did an amazing work. So it was, amazing for all of them, because it was like we are still together. Even some of us, when, some of the members were, losing members, but the one source of, of comfort was their sisters across. So this was very, very important. And in 2021, of course, in 2019, I think we were in Afghanistan. In Istanbul. In Istanbul. And we're conducting a workshop there. We met a lot of sisters from Afghanistan and Iraq. And we formed bonds. And of course, you know Elizabeth. Please don't be on her path. When she's on her mission, there's no way of stopping her. It started, you know, we met, and she was like, we need to bring them in. And she started working. And of course, how can you not say yes to her? And of course, there's Sogol, and there's Dr. Aspanova. All those, they said, they listened to her, and they ran with it. They organized our sisters in Afghanistan, as well as in Central Asia. What an amazing way to do things. Let's go. And of course, then there was a little dream somewhere. Someone was like, well, we have this network. We definitely need to have, you know, somebody, you know, and a body that will do this, you know, that will sort of be a governance of this network. And of course, Julian, together with Elizabeth, said, let's come up with the Leadership Council. And the members were asked to apply, and some of us who live outside of the Nile were also invited. So I have a home in all the 11 countries that drink from the Nile. So those are the members we have. So this is the path that we have gone through. And as you know, my sister has already said, that's the path, because I don't want to go so much into it. But the most important thing to talk about here is that in March, in December 2021, we were supposed to have our first Leadership Council hosted in South Africa by the Swedish ambassador. Of course, you know who came again, Mr. Omicron. We couldn't go, but that did not stop us. That meeting went well, and we had an amazing address by the Swedish ambassador, who talked about, the feminist approach, which has been there. And he was, it was like so heartwarming for all of us to listen to him. And it was like, we needed to definitely pull him in as our brother and our mentor. In 2022, on the 8th of March, we had again our another partnership consultation in Kenya. Again, that one was hosted by our Swedish ambassador. In August, here we are, now launching our strategy, an amazing strategy. So all we are saying to you is that strategy is like it's a blueprint for all those networks that are going to join us. You don't have to start from scratch. All you can do, tweak it here and there, bring your own peculiarities, because we are not all homogeneous. Thank you. Our mission is to improve gender equality in high-level decision-making and in transboundary basin, with a focus in women leadership, in regional dialogues around shared waters, with resultant positive implications for regional peace and human security. I'm now running. And then also in terms of our shared objectives, those shared objectives they find their root in the 4 pillars that we have. That is about improving gender equality in high-level decision-making in transboundary basins, and to support the technical and research cooperation, which of course is happening. And I heard also Dr. Anders talking about it, we are on top of it. We are going to be working together with you on that one, as well as ensuring that there's peer-to-peer experience and exchange of knowledge, and also elevate dialogue, knowledge, and experience around the intersecting themes, throughout. Those are some of the issues that we are going to be working on, and to contribute empowering young water diplomats. And you saw our young diplomat also from Central Asia. She was here. We have our also Yodit. We have others. And of course, from Central Asia, they are all, below 35. And they have their big sisters here. So thank you so much. And also to engage new sustainable core and thematic partners. We are saying the door is open. We are continuously saying, come back home and help us. And those that have got big, funding, we are here. We will help you. So that we bring about change. And the change we can bring. Thank you. Because delivering, we can deliver. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Zodwa. Thank you. Wonderful introduction to our strategy. And now we're going to get down into the weeds a little bit more and unpack those 5 pillars that you've heard mention of, together with Yodit Blacha, amazing leader from our network. Been there with us, dear friend. Welcome, Yodit.
Thank you so much, and welcome everyone, my sisters and my brothers. I will be presenting the 5 main strategic pillars that we have in this amazing, what can I say, roadmap or future plan. The overall objective, as you heard, is to empower women for leadership in high-level decision-making, and it will be achieved through the strategic pillar. I would like to take a few minutes to tell you about this illustration. This illustration was done by Radhika Gupta. Do I see her here? Hey! Yeah, so Radhika is our young female water diplomat who made this illustration. And she's part of the Suez communication team. And on Sunday, when she revealed, is that how you say it? When she revealed this, she made this amazing poem, which I think you'll be able to find it online. So what it represents is the Nile River and her vision in 2050, where all the women sitting through the Nile River, cultivating, cooperation, love, success, and everything. So that's basically how our strategy aims to do. Yeah, the first pillar is gender and youth empowerment in the transboundary water decision making. So this objective is basically spearheads initiative within the network that elevates women's role in decision making and underlines and addresses the underlying drivers of gender inequality. It also contributes to empower young water professionals in the support of the next generation of water diplomats, which means when we include the young, then we are sustaining the water for the future. Under this pillar, some of the activities that we will be developing is that we will have a national women in water diplomacy and male champions expert pool. I'm sure everyone is now aware what the term male champion means. Male champions who empowers women, who are empowered and empowers women. So they are our brothers who are considered a champion. We will also be convening national training, specifically in gender and youth empowerment, and facilitate a male champion initiative so that, we will be able to cultivate more. The second pillar would be peer-to-peer learning, which is what we are doing specifically now from one basin to another basin and then going to global. In this, we will exchange experience exchanging from our sisters who have passed a different life experience, and then hopefully we will also exchange our experience in the future. And we will be able to do some trust building among network members. As you know, transboundary water usually requires a trust. That's how you actually negotiate or cooperate or work together. So a network like this, a peer-to-peer learning pillar, will actually build trust. In this, we will do the activities we are doing are those which one is conducting a non-network member need assessment to see which are the specific peer-to-peer learning that we need. Undertake recurrent basin and inter-basin experience exchange and capacity development training, which we have done since 2017, as you have heard. And we will develop a specialized accredited water diplomacy training course. So this is very specific, especially if our universities, if our educational institution takes this as a specific course, then we will be set in water diplomacy and achieving gender equality or leadership in this aspect. So this is a critical one, and which I am really personally trying to go in deep. And we will be also hosting a knowledge resource library. The third pillar in our strategy is research cooperation, which will support the network members and institution. So even from Nile Basin, we have 11 countries, so we will have a different network members research that we can actually use as a resource to build upon. So this is basically what we will do, and the CIWI, the International Center for Water Cooperation, and other partners will also be doing this multidisciplinary research cooperation among the network members. So this will give us like a very a big pool of research that we can tap the resource from. And this objective, some of the activities that we will specifically be doing is that identifying and nurturing areas of joint research cooperation. So we don't only have to meet, to negotiate, but we could also meet to do some positive impacts, and because we all have other, joint interests, so we can do that. And another would be like developing monitoring framework for gender equality in transboundary water governance and decision-making fora. So maybe it will be easier to track since 2017 how many of our countries and how many of our water ministries has brought women in the leadership role or in the negotiating table. So that will be also one of the activity we will do. So I'm just skipping a little bit for the time. And the linkage to basins is the fourth pillar we have, which is the regional and global process. So regionally, we have different basins, and then globally, we also have different basins. So bringing all those together, as you are seeing now with the Central Asia and Afghanistan coming together with the Nile Basin. So this is what we aim to do. And then, as Dr. Zoda mentioned, this blueprint is basically what everyone can use and basically copy and use that. So we took our time to develop these pillars. And this objective, some of the activities that we will be doing it also falls under knowledge exchange and visibility engagements. As you have seen, these are some of the global engagements that we hope to attend. Now we are in Stockholm, the second one, and then we aim to do the COP27 and the New York Water Conference and the African Water Week, where we will bring all of our sisters from different basins that hopefully will, after this, establish. And the final pillar is the fifth pillar, which is the process support pillar. So this process support pillar basically contributes to all the four that we had previously. So that is designing, monitoring, analysis, and evaluation. So in each pillar, we have designed it, but then we have to monitor it. Are they working or not? And then we evaluate and then you know, if we have to update it, we will update it. So that will be like the fifth pillar, which builds up to the success of the all. And in this, the activity we will be doing is that we will also integrate professional tools and methods of designing, monitoring, and evaluation learning, which means you can see that in the water sector, only water engineer or water professionals are not the one. Like, we are bringing everyone. So everyone is our partner. So that's also one of the things. And we will also maintain and support dialogue in every form, in person or online, in every form that anyone wants. And we will also create a space and opportunity for co-creation of network engagements, as it's been called out, like we would like to call on our partners, our donors, our universities to come join us, and let's co-create something beautiful and something long-lasting and sustainable. And we'll be resource mobilizing and partnership development. So basically that's what the process support means in our strategy. So with this, I would like to end our fifth pillar, and then I would like to invite Thais Reznikova. She's from the Central Asia and Afghanistan regional. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judith, for this very kind introduction. I'm so happy to be here. And I came from the Central Asia and Afghanistan. This is a region which is about 6,000 kilometers away from the Nile basin. But this document, the strategy, it resonates so deeply to the problems that we have in our region. And yes, thank you. And since the launch of our network, oh, sorry. Yep, here we are. In June 2021, when both Mr. COVID, Mr. Omicron felt pretty comfortable, we indeed created this network online with the support of 3 organizations. It's OEC, CIVI, and CAREC. And we created that network for 5 Central Asian countries and Afghanistan. And we were learning and observing the success of our sisters in the Nile, because we understand this strategy speaks so well to the challenges that we have in our region towards truly inclusive water management. And if we look at our region from the community level to the national level and shared basins, we still can see that water management system does not take into account the role of women, that they play essential role in provision and frontline safeguarding of this precious resource. And we just see a few female managers in the water ministries. Also at the regional level, when you look at the commissions and who are doing the negotiations over shared water, we see that there are no organizations that adequately represent the interest of women in this process. So for the Central Asian network, it was essential to have this focus on capacity building and peer exchange, because we can see this persisting underrepresentation of women at all levels. And network members agreed on the emergency to empower women to build their capacity and confidence to take senior positions, to participate equally in the decision-making process. And from the very beginning, we tried to engage a lot in the water dialogue, because we understand that we need to include this gender mainstreaming in the local water agenda. And also we want to learn, we want to transfer the knowledge from current male water governors to ourselves. And I would like to thank our sisters from the Nile Basin and from other basins who are keeping our back, staying at our back, and helping us to feel so strong and so confident in our success, because we have a long way ahead in Central Asia and Afghanistan, but we are so much confident with your help. Thank you. And I know we don't have much time. I didn't go into details, so please approach me or the members of Central Asia Network for more details. We are always happy to share.
Thank you, Thais. And just if it wasn't clear, Thijs is coming from the Regional Environmental Center in Central Asia called CARAC, one of the most important regional environmental organizations in Central Asia and Afghanistan, and a very important partner to us. Thank you, Thijs. Now, I have a very special announcement. This was something we had hoped to be able to share with you, but we weren't sure. So a very, very warm welcome to Commissioner Bogadi, the National Director at the Department of Water and Sanitation in Botswana, who has been here with us these last couple of days. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, sisters and brothers. Let me just start off by saying protocol observed, looking at the time. I do recognize you, Dr. Tanya, Dr. Ospanova, Auntie, and Dr. Anders. And like I said, protocol is observed. I stand here, proudly stand here, representing 4 nations sharing one river system, the Orange River system, otherwise known as Orasacom. These are the republics of Botswana, republics of Namibia, South Africa, and the Mountain Kingdom of Lesotho. We are pleased to be part of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network and very much support this initiative. As Orasacom, we learned of this initiative and would very much love to be part of this inspiring, motivational, passionate team of women and our brothers. We do recognize the importance of this platform, and to many that actually value water and provide the importance, input opportunities to the 2023 UN Water Conference, which is due in March 2023. This is indeed a platform that offers equality and diversity in issues of water diplomacy. We, as the women in Orasacom and our brothers, pledge our support for the Women in Water Diplomacy Global Strategy, supporting the network in the Nile and beyond strategy and its objectives, which emphasize peace and security. We sincerely appreciate the support rendered by our cooperating partners to achieve the strategy's objectives. However, this is our strategy, and together we need to be committed to realize it. We need to learn from the Nile and the Central Asia-Afghanistan basins, how they did it, how they managed it, and drive the process as Orasacom team. As they say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We are powerful beyond measure, and we as Orasacom women, together with our male champions, will surely make it. Viva Umandla, viva!
Thank you, Bogati. And not one, but 2 very special announcements to be added to this important event. May I please welcome Commissioner Meryl Ann Farr to the stage representing Canada in the International Joint Commission.
Hello, everybody. I'm just so deeply honored to be here on behalf of the International Joint Commission. I'm a Canadian commissioner representing them, and I'm part of the Other and Beyond group, the new North American Beyond, the Great Beyond. I mean, there's never been a time, I think, that's more important for a network like this to exist. The challenges we are facing are so significant, and while we all face them, the impacts are most severely on those that are marginalized and vulnerable. And so we all have the opportunity, we all do, to benefit from this network. I'll tell you just very quickly about why the IJC would be supportive of this. We are not a government. We were created by governments, by 2 governments, the Canada and the United States, through a treaty in 1909 And at the time when Canada was only 40 years old, we were just a young country at that time. And it's weird to think about that. Yeah, and it was because a war was brewing between a local state, Montana in the US, and Alberta. Alberta at that time, a province, was only 4 years old. And they were going to fight over water, and the countries realized we have the opportunity to prevent conflict and create an institution that can work collaboratively across the longest international boundary in the world. 8,800 kilometers is the boundary that we manage, and it's thousands of shared transboundary waterways. And the agreement has stood the test of time for 114 years. That said, I am only the 4th female commissioner in the history of the IJC. We had the first female commissioner in 1979, and my group of commissioners has the honor of having the very first Indigenous commissioner be appointed to the commission. And so, as you can see, we have a very long way to go. And one of the things that I think is most valuable about this network is that fundamental, and you may have heard some of the members talk about it, is its role in helping us challenge assumptions about the way things are, about the way we make decisions, and about the way things need to be. And that was what I think is one of the most valuable pieces. In the IJC, we have 20 boards across coast to coast that do the work of the commission. Of those boards, 15 of them have women, a total of 194 women in water diplomacy through the IJC. And so we offer, and I think all of those women will be thrilled to have this as an opportunity. And so I just want to say thank you very much. And IJC is very committed to working to support this and to find a way with funding partners. And yes, Canada, I'm looking at you. I don't know if you're in here. I don't think so, but I'm coming after you to see if there's some way to be an ongoing member of this network. And so congratulations, and I'm again deeply honored. Thank you.
And now we're ready to share with you the joint statement that our network has been developing these last couple of months together to share with you the strategy that we've been working so hard. So I invite network members who will be reading a part of the statement up here, and we'll share it with everyone. Evans, Julian, Dr. Zodwa, Tumaini. I would suggest being in order.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Dr. Zodwa Tumaini from Tanzania, Ministry of Water and Nile Basin Secretariat. Commissioner Marilyn Farangis from Tajikistan. Julian, my dear colleague from SIWI and taking this network forward into the future. Commissioner Bogadi, Ambassador Nadia Gouffon, and our male champion who was alone with us for quite a time, Evans. And if friends, I will put it up on the screen so you can read along and let doctors, you can't really read along, but I'll let Dr. Zodwa kick us off. Please, Dr. Zodwa.
Thank you. The 2022 Global Women in Water Diplomacy Network Joint Statement, a rising tide of support of women in water diplomacy, with gratitude and recognition to the many women, water experts, diplomats, and leaders that paved the way before us. The Women in Water Diplomacy Network shares the global network statement on the occasion of the launch of the network's Nile and Beyond strategy at the 2022 Water Week.
The Women in Water Diplomacy Network is an informal community of practice comprised of both formal and informal women decision makers and experts representing over 500 years of collective experience and expertise in transboundary water management and decision making engaged in some of the most water secured regions of the world. The Women in Water Diplomats Network holds a cooperative vision recognizing the unique and intrinsic social, cultural, environmental, and economic values of the transboundary water resources that traverse the landscape of our one shared planet. Despite challenges, we are bound together and jointly recognize the significant benefit that can result from improved transboundary water cooperation. Guided by our shared objective, we discuss common challenges, share experience, enhance understanding of each other and our country's perspective, build trust and support one another to seek mutual beneficial opportunities for cooperation to achieve sustainable water for all.
Shivani, could you hold that near me? Because I can't do both. Oh, okay. Thanks. Look at this. Look how nice these people are. Shared surface and groundwater resources unite and link our communities and lives in times of abundance and in times of scarcity. For communities who know well the deep insecurities of political conflict and non-cooperation, as well as the true values of peace, increasing water and climate insecurities add a challenging complexity to already deeply consequential transboundary water relations. Sadly, water insecure hotspots are found on every continent today, affecting the lives of roughly a third of humanity. Shared water resources that support, sustain, and enrich communities and nature and drive economies in all corners of the world are reaching critical conditions.
Women and children for vulnerable communities are bearing a heavy and disproportionate burden for unsustainable water management. Yet, women experts and decision makers are far from equally represented in transboundary water management decision-making processes. While it has long been recognized that women play an essential role in the provision, management, and safeguarding of water resources, and all scales of development and peace-building processes, including conflict prevention, conflict resolution, and post-conflict reconstruction and recovery, rigid barriers restricting women's equal participation and influence persists.
The essential value of water to peace and human security spurs us to elevate our voices and knowledge in a global rising tide of women experts, peacemakers, mediators, and stewards. As leaders, we know this to be true. Sustainable water for all is foundational to a peaceful, secure, resilient, shared future and to the full and effective enjoyment of human rights. Many women water diplomats are currently at the innovative fore of efforts to advance cooperative and inclusive transboundary water governance solutions in some of the most vulnerable countries and communities around the world. As decision makers and experts, we members and supporters of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network stress the urgency of action needed to address our shared water and climate challenges, and we commit in our capacity as water leaders to continue to work together to further this cooperation. Through our collective strength and support to each other, we affirm that a rising tide does indeed raise all. We ask you to meet our commitments with yours.
Thank you. To the young water diplomats, we have not forsaken future generations. The burden of the sustainable development is not yours alone. We recommit to our shared responsibility to future generations, ours, yours, and those that will follow, by ensuring young leaders are actively involved in water and climate decision making. Then to our brothers, who are very few here, but please disseminate the word. We are grateful to those among you who even from a place of power consciously examine assumptions and who share our convictions. We invite your partnership and championship in actively removing barriers to gender equality, enabling and encouraging inclusive decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. To our colleagues, peers, local, national, regional, global decision makers, and development partners, we call upon you to commit political, financial, and other resources to frontline women, water diplomats, and stakeholders around the world to ensure that all of society's available skills, experience, and resources are represented and empowered to meet our shared water and climate challenges.
We all must take urgent and coordinated action to remove gendered barriers to equal participation and influence in water peace and security dialogues. In partnership, the members and supporters of Women in Water Diplomacy Network, we are so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And now I'm going to invite my colleague Jessica to just wrap us up. Jessica is the director of International Waters Africa program at the Environmental Law Institute, and my dear colleague. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you so much. And thank you all so much for being with us today for this. And thank you all for that incredible reading of the joint statement. And to the network and council members who put in the hard work to create and launch this incredible piece of work. I have had the profound honor, and we've heard that a lot today, but I really do feel it was a profound honor to be with this network from the beginning in 2017 with our Nile network at the beginning. And over the past 5 years, we have shared so much experience, so much knowledge, but also a lot of laughter and some tears. And we've supported each other through professional and personal triumphs and losses. And I'm personally grateful to each and every one of you now throughout this global network for how much you have taught and continue to teach me, and for the support that you provide to each other and to me. This is truly a network of sisters and brothers who embrace and celebrate our diversity while always finding what connects us as people and as professionals. And this is the real foundation for effective water diplomacy. The phenomenal energy and the hard work it's taken to get us to this exciting point is really inspiring. And we're now poised, as you've heard, as a global network to welcome additional basin and regional partners and to build on the leadership of these amazing women that are here with us today and make really concrete steps towards gender equality and raising the visibility of women and empowering women in shared waters decision-making and diplomacy. So again, to realize this vision and achieve these critical goals, we need additional partners. We need additional resources. So we need you, everyone who's here, everyone who's online, everyone who can hear us here today. We need to operationalize our commitment to more inclusive processes and dedicate the necessary resources to support women's equal participation. And that means political, technical, and yes, financial resources. The global strategy really outlines our path forward, and we invite you to join us to make this a reality. Just look for the circle of waves. That's what I'm calling it. Our network symbol, and engage with the more than, I heard 70 network members. I had 50, 70, that's so cool, who are here in Stockholm, and we can explore how we can all work together. We thank you for participating in this momentous event, and we invite you to join us afterwards for coffee and discussion and to see how we can partner. At the Estonia House, again, look for the Circle of Waves and we'll walk you over there. It's not too far. But before we go, we have just about 1 minute left. We'd love to get a picture of everybody together who is here in the room today for the launch of the strategy. So if you'll join us up front, everyone, we'll figure out a way to make it work and we're going to take a picture. Yeah. Actually, here, Elizabeth, tell them how you can sign up.
That's a very good question. Please do get in contact with us. There's a lot of information. We want everyone to read and learn from everyone. We're here. Talk to us. I'm going to put the background slide, and we're going to do a group picture. All of our session participants are welcome to join us. Hold on. This one.